Here. Loud.
OBS started?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to get us. Madam Chair, you are live.
Good afternoon. I'm Vice Mayor Smith. I'm the chair of Boards and Commissions Committee, and I would like to welcome you to the January 12th remote meeting. All council members and staff are participating virtually, and we appreciate your patience as we work through holding these committee meetings a bit differently. To help your audience follow along, I'll be stating each section aloud. We are streaming live on the Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website. We also have an option for public to listen live by phone. For those of you who are there today, welcome. For today's meeting, we have the option for people to call in and comment live during the meeting. To call in and comment live, use the same number, 855-925-2801, meeting code 9478. Your phone will be muted and you will hear the live meeting. At this point, speakers will need to press *3 to enter the speaker queue. I will now go through and introduce each committee member and the staff who are here participating virtually. Please note that this is a first meeting with our newly elected, not exactly, this is our second meeting with our newly elected council members and new boards and commissions committee members. Please make sure you mute your microphone if you are not speaking. When you would like to speak, unmute your microphone, and please remember to mute yourself after speaking. Council and staff, when I call your name, just give a little brief hello. Councilwoman Antoinette Mosley.
Hello.
Councilwoman Kim Roney.
Hello.
Assistant Manager Richard White.
Good afternoon.
Deputy City Clerk Sarah Twilliger.
Hello.
Assistant Clerk Jerry Goldberg. Hello. All right, that's everybody. Now moving on to our agenda. Can I get a motion to approve December's minutes?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
Okay. Now we'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. Minutes have been approved. We have a very lengthy agenda on today. And we're going to start off with some updates from our clerk's office. So we'll get started. Sarah, you can kind of take over from here.
Yeah, the first report was just an update on our virtual meetings process. As you can see, we've made a lot of improvements, and we're still working through a lot of bugs and glitches with the virtual meeting process, but we have made some really big steps forward in the last month. Now we have the software, the streaming software, what we call the OBS, installed on all the not all of the departments, but at least one in each department. So that way staff liaisons can help with the production of these meetings. And that way we'll be able to have more virtual meetings for boards and commissions. And we're also working on with training them because it is a new step and a new tool for them to be learning. But we are definitely making some improvements there, and we'll be able to have more meetings. So that's that in a nutshell. Any questions?
Yeah, no questions. I guess we can go on to the other report about the demographic makeup of boards and applications received.
Yep, quick highlights. Just note that this report only included council appointments. So although a board might be made up of county and city, this only includes who council has appointed. So of these, the council appoints 185 members to 31 boards and commissions. Of these, 18% identify as Black or African American, but note this number is 13% if we were to exclude the African American Heritage Commission and the Human Relations Commission of Asheville. Of these, 72% identify as white or Caucasian. This is a decrease of 7% since we started tracking these numbers in 2017. And I also want to note that this year, or in 2020, we received 154 applications. I know that this is an increase. However, I don't have the other numbers in front of me, but I know that we are receiving more applications, and that's for a number of reasons, I'm sure. So those are some highlights, but any questions, concerns?
Sorry, every single time I went down to unmute my mic, it disappeared. So I think these last 2 points kind of go hand in hand. If we're getting more applications because the meetings are now more accessible, that would be important to know. So is there some way that we can get feedback on whether or not we're getting more applications, or if the virtual meetings make it more possible for people to apply? A survey of applicants could be, a question could be an option maybe.
Yeah, and so actually, I want to note that we are working with the Equity Inclusion Department right now to revise the application. So that would be maybe, like you said, a question to add to it and just kind of see how people are getting to the application stage.
Thank you, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And could you share with us a little bit of that conversation about revising the application itself?
Oh, yeah. So this goes back to over a year ago now. We did have some conversations at prior boards and commission committee meetings. And we were working very closely with Paulina, and then COVID hit. So we haven't had discussions recently, but I think this would be a good opportunity to reach out to her again and then maybe just see where we're at, and maybe an update to the committee at a future meeting, just so I make sure that you're getting all the details.
Yeah, because I see that out of the applications received, the demographics is kind of, it's a big balance between a number difference between white applicants and others. We're only getting 26 applications received from the Black population and 13 that under what we describe as other. So it seems that I just wanted to mention to this committee that that we can do outreach, and we can talk about how outreach looks and our personal responsibility to recruitment, and also open up the conversation to the larger council, especially for committees that they liaise, kind of work with the chair and the members to figure out the best method of recruiting.
While we're reviewing the process for applications, I'd really love to see if we can address, and I've mentioned this before, but not just having the gender binary as an option.
And that's definitely, that will be revised to expand. Great. Definitely.
Thank you.
And one other question I have, do we keep track, I believe I saw one committee, of disability?
It's not on the application form. That may be something to add. I don't know if we can require.
I was just wondering, I don't remember which committee I was looking at, and that was one thing. Somehow that was included, the number. And I was wondering if we did that across the board. I'd be curious to know.
That may be the Human Relations Commission, because there was a C or a preference given to someone with a disability. So we were tracking to see if we did meet that qualification. So I think that's specific to that board, but something to think about on a broader level.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, we can move on to the school board process. Jerry, would you be giving us information on that part?
Yes, I will. So the Asheville City Schools Board of Education has 3 members who have terms expiring April 1st of this year. All 3 are eligible for reappointment, and all 3 are interested in reappointment. North Carolina General Assembly law requires that we do make appointments or reappointments by that April 1st deadline. Unlike most of our boards, there's some flexibility. This is a hard deadline. So those do need to be in place by April 1st. The three members are Joyce Brown, Patricia Griffin, and James Carter. Their attendance has all met all requirements. They've all been noted as good board members. In the most recent past years of appointments, City Council has requested essays, written responses to questions, and in at least 2 years, they followed the essays up with interviews of the top finalists. So at this time, the options are to reappoint the three members and or advertise the seats, keeping the three for consideration of reappointment, but to see also what applicants come in. Should the council decide to advertise, at that point, they could then appoint based on applications alone, request essays from applicants, and or request interviews with applicants or finalists. Now, if the essays or interviews are desired, obviously the timeline is drawn out, so we've got to keep April 1st in mind. I attached a draft timeline that takes you through the steps, but that's really the process. It would be up to council as to how to go. So today, a recommendation should be made so that formal action can be taken tonight. Any questions on that?
I don't have any questions. Anybody else have questions? Or, I mean, if not, we can kind of start the discussion.
I guess the one question I would have is I was, in my memory, at least one of these candidates for potential reappointment has been through an interview process. Have all of them?
I don't know that off the top. I can research that and get back to you, but I don't have that at my fingertips.
No, I think I recall all three being going through the application and interview process last time. Because that's pretty much how we...
Based on the years of their appointment, it did follow one of the years that I know interviews and essays were both done. But
yeah,
that doesn't mean
and I believe that's the way we've been doing it. I don't know how long we've been doing that consecutively, but I know that that's been our process to submit essay questions to the applicants. Then council would choose the finalists, and then the finalists will be called in, or all the applicants will be called in to be interviewed. And then that later on that evening, and that's usually during a special meeting, I believe. And then later on that night or at a later date, we'll decide who the three or whoever the appointments will be. That's the way we've done it. And I can kind of insert something right here after having conversation with the current school board chair, Shonda Sanford. She said that she would be in consideration of reappointing the three, but if the committee decided to open up an application process, she would not disapprove of that. So is there a recommendation and a motion or more discussion?
My thought on the matter is if we have three that have already proven themselves in this role and they're eligible to be reappointed, my position is that we reappoint them. As the vice mayor did, I took it upon myself to speak to some folks in the school system, and I didn't get negative feedback on any of the applicants or current board members who are eligible for reappointment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else?
This one's hard because we're having so many conversations about education in our community. I feel that as the chair isn't speaking against, the process being reopened, I would like to see us reopen it.
And if we do reopen, I think we could reopen to bring in more applications, but with the high consideration of the three and their attendance, their contribution, and the recommendation of the chair as well, to be kind of like the guiding post for our decision. So is there a motion?
Motion. I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
to be clear, the current motion on the table is to reopen and accept applications.
To reopen and accept applications, indeed.
In case you're wondering why I'm not seconding, I prefer that we reappoint. So that's why I'm not seconding.
Yeah. So in case there isn't a second in this 3-person committee, what usually happens? I'm not really.
The motion is failing at this moment, so we need a new motion.
Okay. Is there another motion?
I move that the current board members who are eligible for reappointment be reappointed.
Is there a second?
I will make a second to support Antoinette's motion.
Okay. And I will call a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, nay. All right. In consideration, excuse me?
Oh yeah, can I just chime in on that? I just want to make sure the motion is to reappoint and it has a second, 2 votes for, 1 against. Also want to note that this will be at tonight's council meeting as well. So there may be more discussion with the full council, just throwing it out.
Okay. So in consideration of the public who can't stay the entire meeting, we decided to pull public comment a little earlier in our agenda. So right now, do we have anybody in the speaker queue?
Madam Chair, we have no one in the speaker queue at this time.
Okay, well, let's move on to the good stuff. The appointments. We have quite a few appointments on today to be discussed. We'll start with Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. The board chair has made recommendations, and a lot of board chairs or boards recommended individuals to be appointed or reappointed. The board chair recommends Chris Day for the Affordable Housing Committee. I was wondering if there is a discussion or a motion.
I have a little bit to offer here. I know that we have a recommendation from Councilwoman Turner in support of that recommendation. I was looking at the goals of the representation at this table, and having attended these meetings now for more than 5 years, it seems that Chris's application, he obviously brings a lot of experience. I do wonder how often there would be issues with conflict of interest, but he's bringing some experience that's overlapping already at the table. And so for that reason, I'm inclined to appoint or to make the recommendation to appoint Hrca Bell Rogers.
Could you, with stating that you see a challenge with there being conflict of interest, could you kind of expound on that? Is it because of his occupation or place of employment?
I guess the concern that I have is that Chris often, his work brings him to the table with applications frequently, both at the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee and also at Housing Community Development and at Council. Mm-hmm. It's not both, it's often.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And you also made a motion to appoint Hrca Bell Rogers. Is there a second?
Can we just discuss? There was also, in line with Councilwoman Roney's discussion, and of course, I have a million papers in front of me, but there was one applicant that caught my eye, Babs, and I cannot remember her last name, but she is involved with real estate. Mm-hmm. And to the extent that we consider someone other than the chair's recommendation, I'd like to put her name in the mix too.
And while we're still at this level of discussion, I'm glad you brought her up. honestly, because I was looking at Bab's application and there were a lot of things that came to mind. She is, I believe, a first-time home buyer, also a real estate broker, and she's also very interested in looking into programs around creating generational wealth through home ownership. And that's a lot of discussion right now on the table, even where we're going in discussion about reparations and pulling programs together around generational wealth building. So in alignment with what we said about veering away from the board chair's recommendation, I believe we did have a motion on the floor, though. Did you make a motion, Kim, or were you just saying that as a recommendation? Do you remember, Sarah, if we had a motion?
I was making it as a recommendation during the discussion.
Okay. Now, after discussion has been made, is there any more discussion, or do I have a motion? I believe you are muted.
Oh, excuse me. Madam Chair, I move that we appoint Bab Phillips to AHEC.
Is there a second?
I'll support with a second. Thank you, Antoinette.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. So for Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, we are recommending the appointment of Babs Phillips. All right, on to the African American Heritage Commission. The board recommends Beverly Miller. Is there any discussion or a motion to appoint Beverly Miller?
I move that we accept the board's recommendation and appoint Beverly Miller to the African American Heritage Commission.
I have a motion. Okay, great. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. We have, next we have the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board, the ABC Board. And with this recommendation, the board actually gave us a pretty detailed recommendation. They actually expounded on a lot of the strengths of most applicants, and they actually listed them in order of preference. And that order of preference included the reappointment of Robin Cape, who is eligible and interested. Is there any discussion or a motion around appointment of Sharon West, Robin Cape, or George Siros?
Well, more of a general discussion first.
Mm-hmm.
One is following this conversation. We are anticipating that in the near future, our alcoholic beverage control may have some additional responsibilities depending on whether or not the state of North Carolina moves towards the decriminalization and legalization of marijuana or cannabis. So that we are asking folks to have a future and long-term set of goals and skills here. And this list, in addition to Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, had a lot of applicants who have tremendous skills. So I'm looking for ways that we can engage these folks to bring their professional and lived experience more than just these boards, because this ABC board does have so few seats.
And if I may further Kim's point, there was an applicant in particular who was not included in those mentioned, Nian Avery. Nian is a lifelong Asheville resident, an African American business owner from a family that's deeply, deeply rooted in the community. And when comparing his background and skill set to those already on the board, I thought that he would make an interesting addition, and he'd be able to bring a perspective that I don't necessarily see coming to bear with the current makeup of the board.
And Sandra also did email a recommendation as well, correct, for Nia and Avery today? So I just wanted to lift that up to make sure that we were hearing her voice too.
Okay, is there a motion on the table? Well, would anybody like to make a motion?
Should we entertain them separately?
Okay.
I think so. It seems with the reappointment of Robin Cape, I'm prepared to make a motion for the recommendation to reappoint Robin.
I'm prepared. I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table to reappoint Robin Cape. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Antoinette Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Are there any more motions for the appointment, the second seat, or the appointment?
I move that we accept the board's recommendation for the appointment of Dr. Sharon West.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
myself, aye. And is there a motion for the last seat? The last
I move that Nia and Avery be appointed to the ABC board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
All right, this committee is recommending that we move forward with the reappointment of Robin Cape, the appointment of Sharon West, and the appointment of Nia and Avery. Now we're moving on to the audit committee. The board chair recommends Travis Keever, and with the note that though Travis Keever is not a city resident, they work within the city, and I don't think that, Jerry?
When you're done with your thought.
Okay, no, I don't think that bears weight on the decision, correct?
So that is something that this council committee probably should make a decision on moving forward.
Okay.
Currently, city managed boards should be city residents. Exceptions have been made in the past, but it has not been written anywhere or codified or anything like that. So we would ask that this council committee consider making a standard statement to whether or not you wish to consider those outside city residents, and if there should be any other parameters or not. And then if you do want to consider those who are not city residents, how would you like us to make you aware that they're not a city resident? Is the way we did it today okay, or if you have a preferred method?
Because right now it is at least the required nexus that if a person does not technically live in the city, he or she should work in the city? Are we requiring any?
It's been at the discretion of council unless, as I don't think they've made specific any other requirement. Sarah?
And historically, and when I've been in this position for 4 years now, I've seen one or two, probably like 3 or 4 exceptions be made. And that is when we don't have city applicants and or it's for a specific seat to fill like a very specific
Skill set?
Thank you. So for this, for example, is required to be a CPA seat. So this would maybe qualify under that. But again, we're kind of looking for direction. Do you want to see these applications? Or what I had done in the past is refer them to county boards and commissions, which they also have committees as well.
And then we would begin the re-advertising process.
I don't know that I'm prepared to make a guideline in general when in this situation we have no city applicants and we do have a very specific skill set, which is the CPA. it doesn't seem like we have to make that guideline at this moment.
So just wondering, so say if someone from Charlotte applied, could someone from Charlotte do it the way we have it set up now? Do we even require that the applicant be a Buncombe County resident?
I would have to refer back to the policy. I think it does state city residents, and that's what we definitely try to do. But these exceptions have bubbled up in these very rare instances. I think if we were to see a Charlotte come through, it would be a red flag.
Well, I mean, nobody's work. You can live anywhere and work anywhere.
That's true. Yeah.
So I don't.
So, are there any other instances where this exception has been made?
I think the last time that I recall was on the Homeless Initiative Advisory Committee, and it was a specific seat again, and this person was a county resident, but filled the Veterans Affairs seat, which was very hard to fill, and we didn't get any city applications. So we got that recommendation from the chair and staff, highly recommending this person who was a county resident. That's the only, or I shouldn't say only, but the last instance I recall.
And I wonder if this person was recruited or if this person just applied, because the city is full of CPAs, if that's what we're looking for. Should we just reopen the application process?
So I can speak to that just a little
Okay.
bit. We went through the normal advertising process, and we had not received any applicants as it was getting closer to the deadline.
Mhm.
So I reached out and sent the specific job posting basically to probably about 5 different CPA firms and accounting firms in the area, and just asked them to share with their staff.
Mhm.
And I immediately got a response from this person's employer and asking, and I said, submitted, it would be at council's discretion.
Mhm. And there is a hard deadline for this appointment.
No.
No?
Am I correct, Sarah?
I thought I heard you say when you were talking that there was a deadline. I guess deadline for this
Well,
process.
we set an application deadline when we first send it out, but the only one with a hard deadline is the school board.
Okay.
In that case, it does seem like we have an opportunity here to re-advertise. And at next month's meeting, if we still don't have anyone in the city limits, maybe we can have a deeper conversation on whether or not it needs to be a policy or we're going to make another exception.
Okay. Now, is that a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we re-advertise.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
All right. The committee agrees to reopen the application for the audit committee.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question out of order, please? I'm sorry, I intended to ask it earlier.
Yeah, sure.
As it relates to AHAC, I did notice in the review that there was a specific spot listed for a member of public housing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is the number for AHAC strictly limited to 11? In other words, could we open it to 12 and see if we can get someone from the housing authority on the board as well? Or is that 11 number fixed in stone?
No, and actually, AHAC, probably within the last 2 years, or maybe even last year, they actually increased their membership from 9 to 11 for 2 very specific seats. So it's definitely doable. Typically, it would come up from the board level, making that recommendation, and then it's approved because council's who creates and this establishing ordinances. So it's definitely possible. but it'd be a wider, it'd be a process and council approval.
So the recommendation should come from AHAC to us to full council? Is that what you're saying?
Trying to think through, that's what I've seen as far in the past, but being that it's coming from here,
Like, could I make a motion to say we're extended one seat for the express purpose of including a representative from the housing authority?
from, Richard, can I get your input here just to think processly?
Yeah, I would think that it would only be a recommendation from boards and commissions back to council. Council would have to actually approve the number. But I guess the piece that's missing is that the actual committee itself has not requested this. That makes it a little unusual.
I don't think they formally requested it, but I do believe the discussion is ongoing from AHAC.
To increase the size of the board.
Yes.
I wonder, could we just could check back in with the board chair just to make sure they're on board with this and maybe bring it back for next month, but it would be a recommendation to council.
I'll check with Barry then. I'm the liaison, and I'm also the liaison for the housing authority, so.
Okay.
Perfect. And maybe it's something that's on this next agenda, and that way we have public comment as well at the committee level. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up, because I think we got some of that feedback from other council members who were also giving us recommendations on people that they consider. And I think that was a part of that discussion, expanding that board a little bit. So thank you. Thank you for that. So we're on to Board of Adjustments. I'm getting just a little bit of feedback. I think probably just need to mute everybody's mics. It's fine. Board of Adjustments, we have one regular seat. Wilczynski, I'm sorry if I slaughtered your name, but we have one regular seat, and the person is interested in reappointment. We also have two alternate members who are also interested in reappointment, and both are interested in being appointed to a regular seat.
I have a question.
Okay.
So in the attached documents that we have for this meeting, there's a note that regarding an additional opening on the alternate and something about compliance. So do we need to advertise for the vacant alternate seat?
So
Or is it only if we appoint the alternate?
correct. So the current advertisement that went out for appointment consideration today included alternate. We did not get any applications. Now, so if you were to appoint one of the two current alternates as the regular, then we would have two alternate seats open, and we would re-advertise for those.
Thank
Okay?
you.
You're welcome.
So again, if we appoint one of the two alternates as a regular, we'll still have a vacant seat for alternate.
That is correct. And if you do not, then you have the open regular seat.
Got it.
And I'm to understand that we have technically two regular seats open. One is requesting reappointment, and the second one is open still.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. In that case, I am prepared to make a motion to reappoint Wilczynski's seat.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Is there another motion?
I am also prepared to make a motion to appoint alternate Godsey to the regular vacancy.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
All right. And is there a motion for the alternate seat?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to appoint appoint Keldis to the alternate seat.
And is that would then be a reappointment, correct?
Yes.
I second.
That's correct.
I second the motion for reappointment.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
All right, we're complete there. Okay, we're moving on to, excuse me, Jerry?
So just to clarify, so we will re-advertise for the one open alternate spot for next month.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're moving on to the appointment for the Downtown Commission. The board recommends Mr. Rodriguez. Is there a discussion or a motion?
Can we start with a motion to reappoint the applicants who are eligible for reappointment?
Okay, wait.
Right, so we have
For
Fletcher,
Downtown Commission?
Hunter, and Johnson for the Downtown Commission reappointment.
Okay,
So I would like to make a motion to accept the Downtown Committee's recommendations for the reappointment of Fletcher, Hunter, and Johnson.
I'll second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
all right, and myself, aye.
And now I'm ready to make the motion to appoint Guillermo Rodriguez to the vacancy on the Downtown Committee. Downtown Commission.
Can we have a brief discussion beforehand? And I can't seem to. There was another applicant whose CV I found particularly interesting is Ricardo Ciejo. Did anyone have any thoughts on that application? I'm trying to pull it up now. There's so many.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up myself.
Because I also noticed that he put in an application for P&Z.
Mm-hmm.
I did review all these applications, and I still feel strongly with the recommendation we have from the group, and the experience that Guillermo brings from planning and zoning service. So that's where my motion is.
And I'm trying to find the person. Any standouts, like as far as experience for the person, Councilwoman Mosley?
You know what? I printed it and now I can't find it, and I can't see it with my vision. He's the last one when you open the
Yeah, I think it's important to take time. We can take.
Yeah, we can definitely take time because we had a lot of applications to look through. So we'll just take a moment so that we are very sound about our decision.
Mm-hmm.
Would it help if I read his CV?
Yes,
Thank
please.
you.
So on his application in the comment box, he stated, I am a registered architect with a bachelor in architecture from Virginia Tech and 18 plus years of professional experience in a wide range of project types. I grew up in Puerto Rico and I've lived in Blacksburg, Virginia and historic downtown Annapolis, Maryland. These experiences have given me a diverse and unique perspective, which I believe relate directly to the challenges and opportunities of the built environment in Asheville. I wish to apply my expertise and insight to benefit my community by serving in either or both the Downtown Commission and the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then he goes to a cover letter. He refers to his cover letter. I wish to engage with and contribute to my community by serving on one or more of the committees that support the city of Asheville. I am particularly interested in the Downtown Commission and the Planning and Zoning Commission, as I believe I am well suited to fulfill these functions. I am a registered architect with over 18 years of experience in a wide range of project types, including but not limited to multi-use commercial, retail, office buildings and fit-outs, public and private K through 12 schools, public safety facilities, religious spaces, master planning, and site design. Growing up in San Juan, Puerto Rico, I developed a passion for architecture and the built environment at an early age. The permanence of the streetscapes there affirmed the need for sensitivity and integrity in design, and the characteristic vernacular architecture illustrated the impact of culture and climate on planning and design. I've always understood that communities must demand energy and substance from their built environment, and it is in this capacity that I wish to serve the city of Asheville. While completing my Bachelor of Architecture at Virginia Tech, I learned to balance a thoughtful approach with practical knowledge of methods and materials. I carried forth this ideal of vitalism and mechanism, fueling my enthusiasm for civic enrichment through mindful design. My years living in Blacksburg at a critical time of growth taught me about urban development in a rural college town that must manage acute swings in population, not unlike the fluctuations Asheville faces due to seasonal tourism and the various higher ed institutions in the area. Prior to Asheville, I lived in historic downtown Annapolis, Maryland, which gave me firsthand insight into the obstacles of adapting modern life and energy strategies to a historic city. I witnessed the positive and negative effects of building renovations and commercial and retail development and signage in a historic setting. Functionally, heavy tourism and traffic mixed with an unfavorable street design which threaten pedestrian safety and creates difficulties for commercial deliveries and parking. I recognize how Asheville shares many of the same struggles to balance character and scale with economic vitality and practical realities. Professionally, my understanding of operational requirements has guided my work on public safety facilities. My visualization skills and attention to detail have served me in K through 12 school design, including phasing plans for work in occupied facilities. I am familiar with the opportunities and challenges of projects in dense urban settings and with the formal policies and procedures that accompany them. These rigors are useful for clarifying objectives and providing structure to a nuanced process. Finally, thoroughness and sensitivity to context have contributed to my work on projects for the United States Naval Academy, which required balancing of stringent demands from varied stakeholders, including oversight by the State Historic Preservation Officer for work in a site listed on the National Register of Historic Places. As an associate at my current firm, my responsibilities include the full range of traditional management duties through all project stages, including project planning, budget reports, coordinating the work of staff, and daily communications with clients and consultants. As an architect, I am responsible for the development of projects from schematic design through full documentation. I have extensive experience in contract administration, having worked with general contractors and construction managers under different delivery systems. I have a solid background in sustainable design and have managed or collaborated on several LEED projects, including a LEED Platinum middle school in Washington, D.C. As an experienced professional, I rely on strong communication and organizational skills and regard good design as the fruit of collaborative effort. I believe my diverse background and unique perspective will yield strong contributions to the efforts of either or both reference commissions. I am grateful for your attention, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve this wonderful community I now call home.
And so I'll tell you my thought process as it related to him when I was looking at the two commissions and based, I found his letter and his application really impressive. And my thought was, we need him somewhere. And then with P&Z, there was someone else recommended, and then additional support for the person recommended for P&Z. So that's really why I was thinking, perhaps he could go here. But I'm certainly open to hearing more about the committee's recommendation, the commission's recommendation. But I definitely wanted to know more about him. So
thank you for sharing that. And I agree. We have so many neighbors with an amazing amount of professional and lived experience. One of the other factors that I'm looking at for all these applicants for boards and commissions is how many seats do we have coming available? So the way that I'm looking at that current membership for the Downtown Commission, it appears that we could potentially have 3 additional openings this year. If I'm reading that right.
Just how soon? Because I think when we're going to I guess you all will call applicants if they are selected or not selected. But if the committee had rich discussion around a person that may not be chosen this time, then we can also let them know when the next vacancy is available. So how soon, since you're looking there, Kim, right now, how soon is are the seats open? Unless you change.
All three of these are December.
Mhm.
I do have another question. So if one applies and someone else is chosen, does that application still remain in the pool, or does that person have to reapply?
No,
So
applications stay on file for 1 year. So if they're not chosen, anytime a vacancy comes up, their application's still in the pool.
Okay, that's good to know. Is there a motion? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I believe there's a motion on the floor.
Could you remind us of what that motion is?
Sure, I have made a motion to make the recommendation to appoint Guillermo Rodriguez with the support of the Downtown Commission leadership.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. So we have.
One no, especially with the candidate, Mr. Ricardo, we can also reach out to him and let him know that there was very strong interest from the council, and we encourage them to keep looking at vacancies and to, reach out, but just to let him know that the council did see him and we're very interested and want him to keep applying.
And my other question, can we expand it before December?
Expand the...
Kim mentioned that 3 seats come available in December.
Actually, there are 4 seats that will come available next December.
Okay, what is next December? Like 2021 or 2022?
21.
And typically that means we would start advertising the month before, so in November, but being, especially for this board, that his application's on file, he's already gonna be considered for those vacancies.
And the same would be the case for planning and zoning.
That kind of brings up another question for me, just, concerning our entire process. If a person submits an application for a vacancy, to fill a current vacancy, what's the likelihood of them being available, after not chosen? Do they usually stay throughout that span, or are we able to contact them after, if not chosen?
So what we have to, if we notice that there is a big pool that are over the 6 month or just have been in the application process for closer to a year rather than a newer application, we can contact them and say, are you still interested? The council will be considering this on this date. We want to make sure you're still interested.
I have a process question just so that we know what's on our menu of options for this group. I know that I've seen interview processes happen at the boards and commissions level, and I've seen it happen at the council level. But is there a precedent of, let's say we have 2 or 3 strong candidates for an opening, is there a precedent for this group interviewing candidates?
Not that I have seen historically. However, I don't see a reason why not. Just thinking you are a committee, and the recommendation that came out of this committee would still go to full council for the full vote. So I think you can conduct that business within this committee.
Yeah, I think that's good to know. So we did have approval for the appointment, right, for Downtown Commission. Thank you. I'm kind of caught up. But okay, Hrca, Human Relations Commission. The board recommends Daniel Young, Sussy Chandler, and Melanie Noyes. Is there any discussion or a motion?
I actually had some discussion on this one. Just because I have gratitude for our youth that are stepping up. And so we not only have both of our youth seats that we've sought out to sit in this commission seated, but we have additional folks applying, and that's just really encouraging to see our young people stepping up.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept all three recommendations from the board. So Daniel Young, Susie Chandler, and Melanie Noes.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. All right, the Metropolitan Sewage District Board of Directors, Councilwoman Whistler is interested and eligible for reappointment. Do I have discussion or a motion for the reappointment of Councilwoman Whistler?
Motion to reappoint.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Multimodal Transportation Commission, the board recommends Maggie Ullman. Do I have discussion or a motion? Jerry has something, I'm sorry, Jerry.
There's a clarification to this seat. The Multimodal Transportation Commission does have a bike pedestrian interests, as well as greenway and at-large seats. So we need to change this slightly because Michael Stratton, who is currently in the bike pedestrian seat, will be moving to the at-large seat. So we actually formally need to appoint him to the at-large seat, and then Maggie Ullman would be under consideration to fill the bike pedestrian seat, the unexpired term with an automatic term to follow.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Any questions on that? If that was not clear, just ask.
I can make a motion to recommend the chair, Michael Stratton, to fill the at-large seat.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. And is there a motion to appoint Maggie Ullman?
Yes, I also wanted to add that Maggie has previously worked with the city of Asheville. So I see that she brings some experience around internal process, sustainability, and policy crafting at a municipal level. For those reasons, I motion that we recommend her for the multimodal bike pedestrian seat.
I'm happy to second.
All right, motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye.
Madam Vice Mayor, I do have one comment I'd like to add to that. When I was looking through the applications and the current composition of the board, this one stood out to me as one where we really need to work on diversity.
I hear that. And I'll go ahead and add some context because having served on this board, I watched it happen. We were having some conversations about inclusion on the Multimodal Transportation Commission as a fairly new umbrella committee for greenways, transit, bike, pedestrian, that also has seats from planning and from the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. And we actually had a member, Billy Laughlin, retire her seat with the intention that until we made space, we couldn't have space to include people. We then went through about 4 or 5 months of re-advertising and holding the seat open, and were unsuccessful in recruiting. But I just wanted everyone here and publicly to state that I appreciated that Billy made that action on a personal level to make space where it wasn't before.
I ran into a friend yesterday concerning, and we had a conversation concerning this commission in particular, and she's very interested in serving. She's not only a transit rider, but she's also a resident of in our public housing community. So she is looking for the next vacancy. I let her know that I'll be in contact with her personally, And, and that's the responsibility of this committee, kind of looking ahead and bringing things into conversation so that we can be collective in our outreach.
And that's really tricky because when we have these subcommittees of the larger group, often those subcommittees will make recommendations that get approved. But when we have the transit committee not meeting regularly, it has been really hard to include people in that conversation and to recruit at the subcommittee level, which then makes it hard to have that entry level. Or we'll have a situation like last time where we appoint someone to multimodal and it forces them on the subcommittee. That isn't necessarily a bad thing. It happened to me. It was one of the first times that we had done it. Rich Lee was put on Greenways and I was put on transit because we were appointed to multimodal. So those are just some things around process that I think we're going to have to be mindful of. If we're really going to recruit and include people, it helps when we have regular meetings, and that's why the transit committee has been pushing for regular meetings.
Thank you for that. It's good that we have this discussion so that we can look ahead and kind of get with Sarah on ways to help diversify some of our boards and the different ways that we can reach out to folks. Okay, so we're moving on to the Neighborhood Advisory Committee, and the board recommends Wendy Hayner for the 28804 seat and Demita Joe Wilder for the at-large seat. Is there?
Vice Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Demita Joe Wilder yesterday reached out to me and withdrew her name for consideration.
Okay.
The board has recommended in place Peter Abzug for the at-large position.
Okay, with that information, do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendations of the board for Peter and Wendy.
Second.
All right, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye.
If I may just add a word, because I served with Philip Linowitz, who was the Neighborhood Advisory Committee liaison to the multimodal, bringing his experience advocating for the social determinants of health. I just wanted to name publicly gratitude for his service.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, for Planning and Zoning Commission, we have board chair recommendations in the order of Robert Francis Hoke, Ricardo Ciejo, and Sherry Cagiolo. I'm sorry with the name.
Cajola.
Say it again, please.
Cajola, and I only know that.
Thank you.
Just a former colleague. Vice Mayor, if I may, just a little historical information on planning and zoning. This commission often, in the past, council would often request interviews with these with these applicants, or at least with finalists, due to the complexities of things that come before this board and the expertise that's needed, the big picture look that's needed. So I just wanted to put that out there so you had some historical perspective.
I'll also carry forward that our colleague Sandra also recommended the Hoke candidate name and application. I, at this point, would recommend that we interview the three recommendations from Planning and Zoning at the council level, because not only of the importance of the everyday task at hand, but when we're looking at some of these potential changes for land use and the future of our UDO.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there a discussion, or?
I can withdraw my motion if there needs to be more discussion.
No, I was just, I'm thinking about whose vacant seat we're seeking to fill. And when I look at the recommendations, the one that is number one ties in, very much in line with the person we're replacing. I know Robert, I don't know him well. I do know that he's a native Ashevillean. I know he's also holds a real estate license. I know that he also does infill building. And so when I think in terms of diversity, I find him to be, for me, the best candidate at this moment.
If you're prepared to make a motion, I'll withdraw my motion.
I move for the appointment of Robert Hope to Planning and Zoning.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. All right, Riverfront Redevelopment Commission. There were no applications received, so we'll just reopen the application process on that. And then Sustainable Advisory Committee on Energy and Environment. The board recommends Tim Orman, Steve Barron, and Kim Austin.
For discussion purposes, another public gratitude offering for Jeffrey and John. They brought a tremendous amount of experience to the table, wrestled with really challenging conversations, and I got to be in the room and witness some of that work, so I'm thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend the 3 recommendations from SACY to the full council.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. I'll call a roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. All right, the Urban Forestry Commission, the chair recommends for reappointment all eligible members. Is there a discussion there, or do we have a motion to reappoint all 3 eligible members?
I move that we reappoint all 3 eligible members.
Second.
All right, roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley. I was looking at Kim, calling.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. And that concludes our meeting, but now we will open it up for public comment. Do we have anybody in the speaker queue?
Madam Chair, you have no live comments at this time.
Thank you. That was a long meeting. Is there anything else for us to discuss, or Sarah?
I just have some quick updates I just want you all to be aware of. One, annual reports. Historically or typically, they would be due from each of the committees on January 30th. However, due to COVID and that most boards were not meeting regularly for almost 6 months now, we did postpone that. We just did communications to the board chairs last week that those are due on March 8th. So you will have those in front of you in time for your budget work session discussions. So you'll see those around March, but I just wanted you to be aware that they are working on those now. Also, quick updates, thinking forward to our next meeting, February. We will not have this many appointments. We'll just have the couple of rollovers. So that will be less time. So we talked about doing an update on the application process. So we'll work with Paulina to see where we're at and give y'all an update and for some input. Also, Jerry and I talked before this about our vacancy outreach. So we'll prepare a report just so you know what all of our outlets are currently and if we could get some feedback and have discussion around what that looks like. And then lastly, I have the AHAC, Affordable Housing Committee. We'll have that on the next agenda, reach out to the committee before, and so at that meeting, we can kind of talk about what that looks like for it to go to full council.
And can I suggest that when a board or a chair sends a recommendation forward, if they can just give us a small blurb or just some kind of rationale, because I think it'll help inform our decision and our discussion.
Yeah, we can build that in for sure.
Kim?
I just wanted to say this is a great example because anyone who had been waiting for public comment would have been waiting through all of that. So thank you to Vice Mayor Smith for having an opportunity for public comment before the appointments.
Yeah, and thank you for recommending that. And thank you to the staff for making sure that that was put at the very beginning. That's very helpful. If there's no more discussion, we have adjournment. See y'all later.
See y'all. Thank y'all.